Welcome to one and all. I am Vasanta, Department of Computer Science, Gopal Swami PU College, Mysuru. Today I am to start with the session 3 on the chapter Constructor and Destructor. Whereas in the previous section we explained regarding default constructor, how to write a default constructor, what are the advantages, disadvantages, and how to write the program. Regarding that we explained in the previous session. Whereas in first session we explained regarding what do you mean by constructor, how to write constructor. With that, what are the rules to write constructor, regarding that already we explained. Today I am to explain regarding the types of constructor. On that I am to explain parameterized constructor. Whereas constructor is a special member function used to initialize the object of a class automatically. It is mainly used for the purpose of initialization. It is used to initialize the object of a class automatically. When I come on types of constructor, there are three types. First one, default constructor. Default constructor. Second one, parameterized constructor, and the third one is copy constructor. Default constructor, parameterized constructor, and the last one is copy constructor. Already we explained regarding default constructor, the constructor which does not have any argument, that can be called as default constructor, or we can also call it as zero constructor also. Today we want to explain regarding parameterized constructor. Whereas you have to know what do you mean by constructor already. That is, constructor is a special member function used to initialize the object of a class automatically. But when they come on parameterized constructor, a constructor which having arguments, a constructor which is having arguments is called as parameterized constructor. ಯಾವುದಾದರೂ constructor ಅದಕ್ಕೆ arguments ಇದ್ರೆ, parameters ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಎಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? Parameterized constructor or argument constructor also we can say. When you want to write the syntax, first here as usual class name, class, then class name. Here if you want in private section we can declare the variable, for example int a. Then in public section we will declare the function class name, inside the bracket arguments, inside the bracket arguments, then close the class. This is the syntax. See, if we have arguments then it can be called it as parameterized constructor. A constructor if it is don't have any arguments, for example like this, then if it is does not have any arguments then it can be called as default constructor. But now we are explaining parameterized constructor. For parameterized constructor, after class name you have to write, if you want you can write class name as well as function name also you can write. Class name anta nadru baribodu athwa function name anta kuda baribodu. Here arguments. This is the syntax. Here if you want you can write class name or function name also you can write. Function name, both are correct. Then while writing an example, first class, add is the class name, for example. Add is the class name. Here in private section we are declaring the variable, for example int a. In public section we are declaring the function add only. On here we have to write the arguments, for example int x. X is the argument. Here I am initializing a equals x, then close the function, then later on close the class. Here this is the syntax, whereas here this is the example. See what is the difference here? Constructor is a special member function used to initialize the object of a class automatically. There are three types: default constructor, parameterized constructor, and one more is copy constructor. Whereas in default constructor, it does not contain any argument. A constructor which contains arguments is called it as parameterized constructor. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬ್ರಾಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಎಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, parameterized constructor ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರಾಕೆಟ್ ಎಂಟಿ ಬ್ರಾಕೆಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ then we used to call it as default constructor. Whereas in this also we have several advantages as well as disadvantages. When they come on advantages, here we can able to initialize the object of a class automatically, and here it can be overloaded. This parameterized constructor can be overloaded, and in this we can able to send the arguments from main program to sub program. In this we can able to perform few operation, and for each object we can able to initialize different set of values. Whereas in default constructor, all the object of a class are initialized by same set of values. Whereas in default constructor, all the objects of a class are initialized by same set of values. Whereas in parameterized constructor, for each object we can able to give different set of values. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ನ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ನ ನಾವು ಕೊಡಬಹುದು. Whereas in default all the objects are initialized by same set, whereas in parameterized constructor for each object we can able to initialize with a different set of values, and this can be executed or it can be invoked in three methods. One is implicit call, and second one is explicit call, and the third one is initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. It can be invoked in three methods. The first one is implicit call, second one is explicit call, and the last one is initialization at the time of declaration by using assignment operator. First, it can be invoked in three methods: implicit call, second one is explicit call, and the last one is initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. Assignment operator ಅಂದ್ರೆ equals operator ಮೂಲಕ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು initialize ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Whereas in implicit call we can able to declare the variables. We can able to create the object by class name object, then inside the bracket only we have to write arguments. While creating objects, see the general pattern is after class name it is followed by object, then inside the bracket only we are going to write the argument. This is a syntax in implicit call. Whereas in explicit call, class name object, then equals once again class name inside the bracket arguments. Whereas in the last case, directly we use write class name, then object, then assignment operator, then argument. See, in implicit call, class name is followed by object name. Inside the bracket only, inside the parenthesis only, the arguments are written. That is meant implicit call. Whereas in explicit call, class name, then object name, then it is followed by assignment operator. Once again class name, then arguments we used to write. Whereas in the third case, that is initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator, there class name, then object followed by assignment operator, then it is followed by arguments. This is the syntax. While writing the example, for example, add is the class name, then object, inside the bracket only I can write the arguments. Example, see, this is the class name. For example, add is the class name, then object, inside the bracket only we have to write the arguments. This is implicit call. Whereas in explicit call, add is the class name, then object equals, then once again add inside the bracket 10, 20. If you want, you can take more than one argument in these two cases. That is in implicit call as well as in explicit call, we can take more than one argument. Whereas in the last case, initialization at the time, declaration at the time of using assignment operator, there only one argument we can able to declare, that is add, then object equals, for example, 10. Here in these two cases, more than one argument I can able to pass, whereas here only one argument it can take. This is the difference between implicit call, explicit call, declaration at the time by using assignment operator. These are the three methods to invoke parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor is nothing but it is a special constructor by using which we can able to initialize the values, and here it takes the argument. The constructor which it takes argument is called as parameterized constructor. When exactly we are going to execute? When we are going to create objects with arguments. Andre object na create ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ. See here with arguments when you are going to create, no, on that time this parameterized constructor will execute, and this parameterized constructor can be overloaded. These are the three advantages. Parameterized constructor is nothing but a constructor which is having arguments. It will be invoked automatically when we want to create objects with arguments. Andre objects na create ಮಾಡುವಾಗ with arguments na create ಮಾಡುವಾಗ parameterized constructor execute ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. In three methods it can be invoked. One is by using implicit call. In implicit call, class name, then object name, then followed by arguments. Inside a parenthesis we have to write the arguments. Whereas in explicit call, class name, object name, then followed by assignment operator, once again class name, then arguments. It is followed by arguments. This is explicit call. And one more is initialization, or we can say it as declaration at the time of initialization by using assignment operator. Andre assignment operator ಮೂಲಕ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. That is class name, object, then equals argument. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವೆರಡು ಕೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ implicit call, explicit call ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ನಾವು ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. See here if you want I can pass only one argument, or more than one also I can able to pass in these two cases, both in implicit as well as in explicit. But when you come on the last case, there only one argument we can able to pass at a time. These are the three methods parameterized constructor can be invoked. Then what are the drawbacks, major drawbacks of this parameterized constructor? When you come on parameterized constructor, the main drawback is this cannot be used, especially this parameterized constructor cannot be used when you want to initialize all the objects with the same set of values. And the same set of values ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಾಗ ನಾವು ಡಿಫಾಲ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಗೂ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವಾಗ parameterized constructor na use ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Next I am to explain this parameterized constructor with one simple example. On that example I just want to display the values of ABC. I want to display the values of ABC only, but there I am using all the three method of invoking the parameterized constructor, that is implicit call, explicit call, initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. Display the values. Display the values of ABC using parameterized constructor, using implicit, explicit, and one more initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. In all the three I am going to explain now. For example, hash include iostream dot h. This is the supporting header file for scene as well as cout. Next header file, hash include conio dot h. This is a supporting header file for clear screen as well as for getCH function. I want to display the value. Then class, I am to take number. I want to display the numbers of ABC. That's why I am to take the class name is number. On this class, in private section, we are declaring the variable int a comma b comma c. All the three variables we are declared. All the three variables of type integer format. In public section, we are declaring the functions. First function we take number. Here I am passing the arguments. For example, int x, int y, 2 arguments. It is nothing but constructor. It is a parameterized constructor because here it is having arguments. Here I am initializing, that is a equals x and b equals y. This is first constructor function. Next, one more function I am taking. Number is the class name. Here also its function name is also number. Once again I am taking number only because this is also constructor. Here int z I am taking. Int z. Here I am initializing, that is c equals z. C equals z. In this program, now we are declared 2 functions. First function number, second function also number. These 2 are parameterized constructor, whereas in first constructor having 2 arguments, in second constructor it is having 1 arguments. Next, one more function, one more value will take, that is one more function will take, that is to display the values. Then here void display one. Display one function I am taking here. Here I am going to display the values. That is sum of values, or we can take to display the values of A and B. See out. Insertion operator, A and B value equals. A and B values. Display the values of A and then display the value of B. Then close this function. Display one function. Next, void display 2. Display 2 function. In this also I am going to display the value of C. C out, insertion operator. C value equals. Display the C value. Then close this function. Next, one more function I am taking. Void only. Void display 3. Here C out the C value, assignment C value, assignment C value equals, display C value only. Then close this function. See, totally in this we have 5 functions. Number is a constructor function, number this is also a constructor function, display 1, display 2, display 3. Then finally here close the class. Here which are open no class, that here we are closed. Next, I am to write the main program, void main. Void main. Here create the object. How to create the object? The class name here we are given as number. Number. Create the object. Object 1 equals number, inside the bracket 10, 20. Which method we are calling? By using explicit call, or in the next method I am to take, if you want implicit call as well as explicit call. If you want, first you can take implicit call. Number is the class name, then object 1 inside the bracket 10, 20. When I am to write this line, then the first constructor it will going to execute, because object 1 is the object name here we are given, it having 2 arguments. Then by implicitly it will going to call this function, that is A equals x and B equals y. Next, one more object I am creating, that is number only. Number object 2 equals number, inside the bracket I have to write 30. This is implicit call. Implicit call. And whereas this one is explicit. Explicit call. And one more we have to declare, that is number object 3 equals 40. It is nothing but by using assignment operator. Assignment. 3 methods we are declared. Then call the functions one by one. That is object 1 dot display function. display 1 function. Then it will go to display a and b value equals 10 and 20. It will go to display. Second function I am going to call object 2 dot display 2. Then it will go to display 2 function. That means c value equals, it will display 30. Next, object 3 dot display 3. Then here it would display this function, that is assignment c value equals, once again it would display 40, because with the help of object 3 we are calling, that's why object 3 dot display function. Then here assignment c value equals 40, it would display. Then get ch, close the main program which you opened. Once again I am to recall all the things today whatever we explained. That is parameterized constructor is nothing but a constructor which is having arguments. It may be one arguments or more than one arguments. Here also we have advantages as well as disadvantages. When we come on advantages, mainly this function will execute automatically when we want to create objects in the objects with arguments. When you want to create, then this constructor function will execute automatically. Andre arguments object na create madaga arguments idre automatic agi parameterized constructor execute agutte. It can be overloaded. It can be invoked in 3 methods. One is implicit call, explicit call, and one more is initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. And the last case only one the drawback in only one arguments we can able to send. Whereas in implicit call as well as in explicit call, in these 2 cases more than one argument also we can pass. This is the example program to display the values A, B, C by using implicit call, explicit call, and one more is initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. See the program. Here class name we are given as number. In private section we are declaring the values A, B, C because I want to display the values A, B, C. That's why A, B, C. This is the first constructor function because it having arguments, especially it is parameterized constructor because it having arguments. If you don't have any arguments, then it can be called as default constructor. Here we are initializing A equals X and B equals Y. This is second function, constructor function, especially it is a parameterized constructor function. Int Z we are given, that is C equals Z. Here we are open and here we are closed. This is number 2, second constructor function we are closed. And next display function, A and B value here we are displaying. Then here C value we are displaying. In display 3 function, initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. There we are initializing the values C. Then close the function, then close the class. In the main program, number object 1, 10, 20, it is nothing but implicit call. Andre object in a create madata followed by argument inside, followed by arguments inside the parenthesis. Then it can be called as implicit call. When you come on explicit call, class name, then object, followed by assignment operator, then followed by once again class name, then arguments. And the equals operator haki matte class name bardu arguments na baradre adana explicit call anta karitivi. Next one, the third one is initialization at the time of declaration with assignment operator. There number, that is class name, object equals value, argument we are writing. And the implicit to explicit alli ಒಂದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ arguments ಅನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕಳಿಸಬಹುದು. ಆದರೆ assignment ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ only one argument we can able to pass. And object 1, then it will here object 1 display 1, then A and B value here it will display. Object 2 dot display 2, only C value it will display. Object 3, in object 3 we are initialized at 40, then object 3 dot display function means initialization at the time of declaration by using assignment operator. Whatever value here we are displayed, that value here it will display. Then get ch, close the main program. Next class we are going to continue with the next one, that is copy constructor. Regarding that you come to know. Thank you for all of you.